And now, live from Pod Cabin in Burbank, California, is the Allison Rosen is Your New Best Friend show. Tonight, Allison welcomes her guest. He's a comedian, writer, and actor from Good Mythical Morning and co-host of Pod Yourself a Gun, a Sopranos podcast. It's Matt Lieb. And he's a writer, podcaster, and the world's last living film critic. It's Vince Mancini. Tone Zone is here to show our Olympic gymnasts a much easier way to get the twisties. I'm her husband, Daniel, saying hop on board Love Bus. Say hello to your new best friend, Allison Rosen.
Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her the good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison Rosen. Allison's your new best friend.
Hello, my little fried mac and cheese balls. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is Your New Best Friend. That particular carbohydrate was sent in on Patreon by Jess Flowers. Jess is the official carb czar. She sends me spreadsheets indicating who sent in what carb when, which I didn't glance at before I chose that one. So it's possible we already did fried mac and cheese balls, but I would think as the carb czar, she would not have repeated. I don't mean to throw her under the bus if she did. It happens. We're all human. Anyway, very excited to get to this show. Very excited for my guests. Let me just say real fast, since I did mention Patreon, I am on Patreon. Weekly bonus episodes of what we are calling the Friend Zone. That's the weekly bonus episode. Zoom parties. There's a level where you can text me stuff, and I'll text you back.
Ooh.
Yeah. And you can see the video of the Thursday shows when we have video, which is more and more. But I will get to that. All right. I'd like to say hello to my guest, Vince Mancini. Hello.
Hey, I feel like I said hey too early, but I'm glad I'm doing it on time now. And thanks for having me.
Well, you know what's funny? You did say it a little bit too early.
Yeah.
As did your co-host and brother in podcasting, Matt Lieb. Hello.
Hey, what's up? I did it too early too.
I know.
Yeah.
And then Vince followed your lead, but here's the but it actually worked pretty well. And here's the crazy thing. I'm just surprised because I've been doing this show for 49 years, and I'm surprised that has literally never happened before. How
What?
is that? I know. I hope you feel special.
I feel worse about it now. Before I was like, oh, people have done it. I'm sure it's a reoccurring problem. But no, we were the first people to ever fuck that up.
No, I think it means other people, and no offense to them, I think they're lulled into like some kind of they're like mesmerized and they're just on autopilot, whereas you guys are like thinking on your feet and you're like wanting to, pull your weight on the show. I like that.
Yeah, we're busy trying to get in a word in edgewise with each other. And then I feel like I deserve less of the blame because I just did what Matt did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that makes you a follower, not a leader. And it makes me a leader. And so in a way, you're kind of just like dunking on yourself if you think about it. Also, Allison, we're not used to podcasting together on other people's podcasts. So, we just kind of, we're new at this in a way, if you think about it.
Are you like the podcasting equivalent of like, you left the door open? Did you grow up in a barn? Which, by the way, does everyone leave doors open in barns? I don't really know where that comes from. But I'm just saying, like, do you not, like your pod P's and Q's? Are you going to like suddenly defecate on air?
Probably. I mean, I'll try not to. For a second, I thought that was real. And I was like, Allison, I am impressed that you can do that on command.
You make a really good point. Like, I feel like the worst thing to leave open would be a barn. Like, if you grew up in a barn, leaving a door open would be the last thing you would do because you don't want all the horses and cows and like sheep to get away.
Right.
True.
And it's weird because when people say, did you grow up in a barn? When someone leaves a door open, I feel like it's like someone had their elbows on the table. It's like it's a very small infraction. Whereas to your point, Vince, if you left the barn door open, like you probably put the barn in bankruptcy for years. Like you're not coming back from that.
No milk, no butter. Your family might starve.
Right. And everyone's angry at you.
And also, when you say to someone, hey, your barn door's open, that usually means your zipper's down. So it's like some people understand how barns work and some people don't.
the
And that's
significance of what it would mean.
But
Yeah,
now,
anyways.
but nowadays it just refers to like super modern sliding doors that people put in their new homes. Now it's just a trendy door that,
Is that right?
yes, and
They call them barn doors?
They call them barn doors. Let me bring in everyone so we can really talk about doors. Daniel Quantz, my husband. Hello.
Hi. I'm wondering if maybe what the implication with the question, did you grow up in a barn is
Oh, are
grew
you
up in
an
a barn,
animal?
you left the door open, you got kicked out of the barn,
Yeah.
and now that's why you're here in the big city.
Ah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Babe, but not because you're good at herding sheep.
Yeah, exactly.
I just realized potentially what it means is, are you an animal?
Oh.
I
that
like
what
that.
it-
I bet that's what it means. I like that we've all decided, did you grow up in a barn? Like, did you grow up doing 4-H?
Right, because humans don't actually
Yeah.
live in the barn.
Right. I think we might have solved it.
Oh.
I prefer our
right.
first interpretation. Tony Thaxton, bad boy of podcasting. Hello.
Hello. I was trying to do some Googling on this to get a proper answer, but
love that.
you called on, and of course, normally you would wait another 20 minutes to introduce me, but this time when I'm not ready, you introduce me.
I know,
Well, me
Tony.
and-
We're only
Yeah.
7 minutes 28 seconds into the show, maybe even a little less because I think I started recording before. That's that's behind the scenes stuff. You guys don't need to know that I might have started recording. a
That's
little
for
too
the
early.
patrons only.
That's right. That's patrons only, and also patrons only know that Matt Lieb his guns are out.
Yo, what's up? I'm in a tank top right now because it's hot as fuck. Am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Fuck yeah. It's really hot in Los Angeles right now, and I'm in a room with air conditioning, and it's still hot. So
Yeah.
I decided, for the patrons only, they could see what my bare arms look like. And yeah,
Yeah.
boner drops. I've been getting boner drops everywhere I go. Every podcast I do, someone does a doyoyoing.
Is that? I was going to say, is that true? Because I lost my ability to understand when someone's being facetious, but I've gotten it back. Anyway, this is right. This is a record early introduction of Tony. I like to just leave him in an uncomfortable, like, she hasn't introduced me. Am I allowed to speak yet? I mean, I know I could, and I'm working on the show, but she hasn't introduced me. What's going on for like 30 minutes? So you're welcome,
power.
Tony. Yeah.
Thank you. I thought this was the latest part of your ongoing sudden grudge against me. That has
Tony
been
and I are
developing.
sworn enemies.
So she
Why?
says.
Did he do something anti-Semitic?
Non-stop with this guy. Non-stop. He'll reach down and grab a coin and be like, "Hey, did you drop something?" I'm like, "What? What did I do to you?" It's really weird.
Canceled.
Yeah. You wouldn't think someone as mild-mannered as Tony would be that way, but he's full of hate and rage.
Filled with hate. You can see it in his eyes. His hate-filled eyes.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Get on
Yeah.
Patreon to see those eyes.
Patreon.com/Allison Rosen. Okay, so
real quick,
Go ahead.
I did
Yeah.
Google, and are you ready
Oh,
for this very exciting answer?
Yes.
I'm ready.
Literally, this says, in an era past, farmers often left the barn doors open during the day for livestock on pasture.
So you want your animals to be able to come back to the barn.
Yeah.
You know what I always say? Me and Matt have a saying, which is that facts are the enemy of podcasting.
Absolutely.
And I think that holds true here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
never
like the
never know
argument.
why. You know,
Yeah.
if someone is like, "Oh, who was the guy who played?" Doesn't matter. Just make up a name. You know, as soon as you know something, it just ruins everything, man.
So back to these trendy doors, because Daniel and I have had words about them. I don't know if you remember, Daniel, but these are the doors where there's a rail, like a bar, almost like a curtain rod on the very top, and the doors are suspended from that, and they slide almost like closet doors. And that we saw them when we were house shopping. We saw them in tons of homes, and I remember wondering, but they offer no soundproofing then.
They don't actually close.
Right. They're just a hint of door.
It seems like people, like the trend in homes is to feel like you're living in another thing because you got barn doors and you got shiplap. Like people don't actually want to live in a house. They want to live in a barn.
Right, a
or
farm
like a ship.
sink, farmhouse
Yeah.
sink.
Yeah, it's always something else.
Trying to think
I
of
mean, the next thing is like theme houses, like the way Vegas used to do hotels. You know, you can live in a-
Yeah. Welcome
Get some
to
of those out here.
Welcome my Garfield themed home. Just to shout out, I think you should leave. A fantastic show. Yeah, no, there's I mean, first time I heard of someone living in a studio, I thought they meant like there's like cameras and lighting and whatnot, but it just turns out it just means an apartment with a bed in the middle of it, and that's the whole thing. Which I mean, I get wanting to change the name and create a euphemism for that. Because no one wants to be like, oh, yeah, I live in a cell. Because that's a cell.
Yeah, if you call it a studio, then it's like you're a working artist.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing art. But if you, call it what it is, which is prison.
So what is a loft?
Oh,
is that just a studio that has high ceilings?
Yeah.
A loft is a real studio, I think. Because that's an actual... If you actually live in an art studio, you live in a loft. If you live in a studio, you don't do art and... You're struggling to survive.
Daniel,
join the Patreon.
Didn't you live in a junior studio or a studio with an alcove or something? That's I believe what that is a studio that has like a tiny partition for the bed, right?
Oh,
yeah, my first apartment, but it was like a one room, but it had a kitchen.
Doesn't that count? Then
that's just a studio then.
Yeah.
Is that a junior studio or is that a junior one bedroom?
That's a studio with an eat-in kitchen, I believe.
Yes.
Well, they also call it a bachelor, right?
Oh, I like that.
Maybe. So many euphemisms. So, listen, you guys, I have some sad news, but for any listeners who just clenched up, it's not so sad that you need to worry. You're not going to feel too sad. But I discovered, and I think I started to tell this on a different show. We have a watering can, and I used it outside, and then I left it outside. And would anyone like to guess what I found inside the watering can? Daniel, you already know. Okay, yes, go, Vince.
Dead frog.
No, but you're close.
Dead
crack cocaine.
No. Cold.
Dead squirrel.
Oh, my God, it's not that big of a watering can.
Oh, salamander.
Oh my
Well,
God,
no.
Steaming hot.
Oh my God, tadpole.
Just
Is a salamander like a
amphibian?
tadpole?
Snake.
some other sort of lizard.
Yes. Okay. So, but no
That's
one.
a reptile, but you know.
I think of salamander. What is a salamander? An amphibian?
That's an amphibian. Yeah, they come from tadpoles.
Oh, I didn't know that. This is such an educational show.
Vince knows a lot of stupid shit no one cares about.
It's my gift.
That's his gift.
And yet you agreed that facts are the enemies of podcasts. They're also like the basis of many podcasts.
Yeah, those
Well,
are
I know many
the
things.
worst
Just don't
ones.
check them. You know.
Yeah,
Don't-
yeah.
Don't verify.
Just be
Trust,
confident
don't
in your
verify.
answer.
Yeah.
When it's wrong or right, be confident.
I am tempted to agree with you that those are the worst podcasts, but it's just pure jealousy. It's just like, oh
Yeah,
my God,
yeah.
people fucking love fact-based podcasts that I don't provide.
I know. I totally agree. It's whenever it's. I say I hate them because they're bad, mostly because NPR keeps making them the #1 podcast in the world.
Yeah,
and I'm
people-
like, some of us do podcasting just to have friends. All right, NPR.
They also do this thing where there are fact-based podcasts, but they're all taking the format of one person regaling another with things they learned on
Yes.
Wikipedia.
Yes.
And it's like, why am I listening to this like studiously fact-based podcast that is nonetheless recreating the concept of banter?
Right. Yes. It's like, so tell me, Vince, what do you know about salamanders?
Wow, that's really interesting. I found out some really cool stuff about salamanders, and one is that they come from tadpoles.
What?
And two
Yeah.
is that they cause rashes.
Didn't we evolve from salamanders?
Yes.
I'm just gonna say yes, and no one check.
Don't check it.
what?
Okay. So anyway, and by the way, no one guessed what there was the most of in the watering can, which was bird shit. I mean, I don't.
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's like they aimed and they're like, oh, you need to like up the side a little bit, hit the spout. I don't know how they spackled the inside entirely with bird shit.
Okay, but isn't that a really good thing? Like guano is what they use for fertilizer, right?
That's
like,
right.
So if you have a bunch of birds shitting in
Oh.
your thing that you feed plants with, so that seems
Probably
like a
is
win-win.
good. And
Yeah, keep the doo-doo in there and then pour it on the plants.
the organic matter from the dead lizard probably would have been good too. I just want to throw the whole watering can out. But anyway, tiny little dead lizard. I mean, he was probably like 1.5 inches long. Very sad. Tony, could you find taps? Because I just want to take a moment to honor him. Does anyone know what a little lizard is called? I don't. Is it like a pup or something?
Ooh, what's it? You know,
Tiny lizard. Baby.
Fred.
It's called an infant.
Okay. I'm just collecting myself, thinking of what I'm going to say.
Tony, when you edit this, make this longer.
The thing is, there's
Just
literally a video playing right now, and there's so much intro on it.
Oh.
is it someone regaling someone else with facts about lizards or facts about taps? The interesting thing about taps,
Here we go.
Tiny lizard, you were just starting out. You were a mere babe. Or just a very tiny old lizard. I'm not sure, but I think you were a baby. You were looking for sanctuary. You were looking for shade. You were looking for drops of water. And you found a bird shit covered coffin. I'm sorry. Each time I water a plant, not from that watering can, because I can't keep it. It grosses me out. I will think of you and all that you could have accomplished in your lizard life cut short. Would anyone like to say a few words?
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words.
Okay.
Yo, lizard, sorry about that. That sucks. But also, you got greedy. You saw that there was a watering can. You said, oh, I bet there's like a world of water in there. I'm going to have it all to myself. And you know what? You're a victim of your own hubris. You're probably burning in lizard hell right now for that shit, dog. Yeah, keep taps going. Hey, lizard. Fuck you. Why'd you have to go and ruin Allison's watering can that she was going to use to get the water out of it so you could have drinking it later? If you had just been patient and not a glutton, you'd be alive right now.
ejecting your own tail is not going to get you out of this one, lizard.
Yeah.
We've seen that trick before, and it doesn't work on
You should've-
watering cans.
You should have hollowed out the tail and turned it into a snorkel so you could have survived for long enough for Allison to have discovered you and let you out, which she would have done because she's probably a nice person.
Probably.
But instead you didn't,
you
because
drowned.
you weren't innovative enough to think about a lizard tail snorkel.
Thank you for these words from the heart for our lizard friend. You know what I realized? You know what he looked like by the end?
What?
Like an Izod emblem.
Oh man.
Oh, wait, that's an alligator, right?
Is
Well, you know what
it?
I'm
Which
saying.
one is Lacoste? Lacoste isn't
That's an alligator too.
one of them's a tiger, right? Which one's the tiger?
I don't know
that-
enough about clothes.
That's
I think
an
that's
imitation.
Lacoste.
Well, anyway,
Izod is
I'm
the
just saying he
alligator.
was small and stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad that we properly honored him. So this was going to be an in-person show. And
Yeah.
Vince, who lives in Fresno, and I didn't realize you lived in Fresno until the planning of this show. You were going to drive down. You were going to
Yeah.
make a day of it. You were going to stay, I believe, on Matt Lieb's day
Daybed.
Now,
Yeah.
when you say daybed,
Yes.
do you mean a twin bed that has so many
Nope.
pillows on it that it looks like a
No.
couch? What's a daybed?
No, I mean, we specifically went and bought a day bed from a catalog. And I mean, I'll tell you this, a twin bed with a bunch of pillows on it would be more comfortable than the day bed.
Is this a chaise? Like, I'm just wondering what the term daybed is referring to here.
I don't know. I feel like people name things different things, and they mark up the price, because what this is like, imagine a couch, but they're like, we took away the thing you rest your back on and the thing you rest your arm on. And it's just, think of a giant ottoman that's a rectangle. That's what it is.
Oh.
And
is there nothing to lean on?
There's nothing to lean on. It is garbage, but
Vince, you
Francesca
dodged
thinks it looks good.
a bullet.
I was probably just going to drive back anyway, but I let Matt think I was going to sleep on the daybed just so that he would feel justified in having a glorified ottoman in his house that takes up space.
I mean, we just, like, we have it and we need people to use it. We have had people over who slept on the daybed, and none of them enjoyed it. And it is, it's just one of those purchases that took 2 months to get because of COVID and cost way too much money, and is pretty much at this point just where the cat lives. So, word of warning to people out there: don't buy a daybed. Just get a twin bed.
And I'm very allergic to cats, so it just would have been me reclining on a restless square, just sneezing and snuffling.
Well, you're welcome then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's too bad. I was so looking forward to going to do this in person, because I was just like, I haven't podcasted in person in so long. Vince moved to Fresno, I don't know, a couple years back, when he fucking fell in love like an idiot, and met his wife. So we do all of our podcasts via Zoom. This is normal for us. So when
Remember the novelty of like spending in-person time with
with your friends,
acquaintances? Yeah.
It was awesome. At the same time, it sucked a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Because when you guys record in person, you guys go to a studio. Is that right?
Me? No. I have the room that I'm in the backyard is a studio in the backyard.
Oh, okay.
There's like a structure in the backyard that it was used as storage, but at some point it would be depressing to live in here. It is, like we were talking about, it's smaller than a studio, the kind we were talking about. But this is my studio, so it's in my house.
Okay.
My house.
So the one thing that I've actually kind of enjoyed a little bit is in doing just Zoom podcasting is now I don't mind inviting any guest to come on. There was a time where I was like, I don't want some people to know that I live in squalor.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I definitely, like, we did a podcast once in my studio apartment back before I lived in a different apartment that has a daybed. No big deal. I think we had Justin Halpern on, Vince, and Justin went to my apartment, and I was never more embarrassed of the life that I had chosen than when he like came in, because this guy is like very successful, and I'm just like, I live here. You can hear this. You can hear the sign, the Scientology building sign. It buzzes at night, but the light is nice.
So
I don't know if it's day or night.
Before we moved to Burbank,
Yes.
when we lived in Hollywood, we had Vince had been there. We used to record in our dining room. We called it Dining Room Studios.
Nice.
And I had all sorts of people in and out.
Yeah.
Our dog Wendy at the time peed on pee pads because we lived up a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
And that was a decision I regret a lot, because the thing is, like, she has had 0 accidents in this house now where we have a yard, and she just taps on the door with her paw when she needs to go outside. And it's really it's dogs, they just should go to the bathroom outside. But we allowed her to go to the bathroom in our house on a pee pad, except she would not always hit the pee pad. So basically, I just compartmentalized the fact that our home smelled like dog urine.
Yeah.
Like, all these people that I respect, so famous people in and out, our house smelled like dog urine. Gross. And I just completely like separated that. And then Daniel, do you remember when Ben Glebe came on the show in this place and he was like, your old place smelled like dog pee or something? I think I had asked. I had opened up the door, but I felt very, very I felt so embarrassed for like weeks after. Do you remember
Look,
I was thinking of
You don't have to impress Ben Glebe.
I know
Yes,
it wasn't.
please.
It wasn't the Ben Glebe of it all. It was the shock. It was the acknowledgement of the smell, and he said it so matter of factly.
Right.
And I thought, this is how far I went with it. I was thinking of sending a mass email to everyone who had been a guest on my show, just saying, like, I just want you to know that I realized that it did smell and I'm sorry. And then I'm like, what am I? That's like 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, no, don't do that. That would be so
I didn't.
funny.
That'd be so
I
weird.
feel like that is the full podcast experience, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like who's one of the most successful podcasters around? Probably like Mark Maron.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
I just imagine that Mark Maron's podcast studio smells like cat pee too. So I mean,
For sure.
we're just like living up to the best.
Right.
Yeah.
I had him on my show, but recorded it in his garage. This was back in 2011. And his studio was in his garage. So
Right.
I don't recall it smelling like cat stuff, but I know that we went through the house and I'm sure
and
there
that
was a
smelled
cat
like
scent.
cat piss.
I'm sure
Yeah.
it did. Sure
are-
it did. Gross.
I love the idea of
Cats.
him keeping his like garage like pristine and good smelling, but the rest of his house is just filled with cat piss and poo.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he's like, this is where the squalor is, but I keep the studio nice and good.
Right.
For the president. Yeah.
Daniel, have you spent any time in Fresno?
I don't think I've ever been to Fresno. I was trying to think of that.
It's lovely.
Is Fresno on the way to anywhere?
Yeah. It's mostly that's usually it's what it's
End of
famous
the-
for.
It's end of the line, Daniel.
I've driven through the shittiest corner of it. Is usually most people's experience of it. Yeah, it's on the way to Yosemite.
Yeah.
My friend who went on to either co-found or has something to do with Long Reads. I think he founded Long Reads. He had a website a long time ago because he was from Fresno, and he had a website called Fres Yes.
Nice.
Clever.
I need to meet him now.
I know.
I mean, how is Fresno, Vince?
Well, there's only so many of us that can long read here, so like you'd think it would be a small community. No, it's great. Like if I had moved here, I lived in San Francisco for like 10 years, and then I lived in LA for about a year before I came here. And so like the year living in LA, like I don't really it kept me from like missing another place. I feel like if I would have moved here directly from San Francisco, because San Francisco's full of it's a beautiful place full of shitty people, but it does have those days where you're just like you walk the hills and you're just hit with the natural beauty. Whereas like LA is just a big suburb, and and Fresno's like a slightly smaller suburb than that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this is the same thing.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. There's no better way to like realize that home was just right under your nose all the time than when you like go to LA, try to move to LA for a bit, and you're just like, oh fuck, this sucks. I could see a better life somewhere. Whereas I'm fucking screwed because I grew up in this cultureless fucking wasteland, and this is where I will die, I guess.
Have
know?
you ever not lived here?
I not lived in LA for a long time. I mean, I lived in Santa Cruz for about 4 or 5 years for school. Then I lived in Oakland for a little bit. And then I lived in San Francisco for about 7 years. And now I'm back here in sunny Los Angeles, where it's 97 degrees, and I'm just sweating my balls off.
I think about the unnatural or the lack of natural beauty here all the time.
Yeah.
You live next to the Scientology Center?
I used to. I've upgraded in my life. All right?
LA has natural beauty, but it's like only for really rich people. Like it's like if you go to the place where really rich people live, you're like, oh yeah, this place is actually very nice. But then, for the rest of us, it's like, yeah, it's a big suburb.
Yeah, no, it really is a big suburb, and it's like one of those things where my mom, because she grew up in a small town, she was always talking about us as like city boys. The kids that she raised is like a bunch of city boys, and I was always like, are you sure? Because I feel like I live in a suburb. Everywhere in LA feels like a suburb. Nothing feels like, hey, it's just me in a city. I'm walking here. Everybody's like, I feel like.
Hold on, I'm listening to my block.
Yeah, I got to listen to the sound of my block. It's like, there's no in the Heights community feeling of Los Angeles. Like, even in the neighborhoods that we try to like ascribe some sort of like communal feeling to, like Boyle Heights or Englewood or whatnot, everyone is still mostly alone and in their cars. Like, it's not like, I mean, I guess it's as close to community as you can get, but in LA, there's just not. It's a big, giant, lonely, hot city that sucks. And I can say that because I grew up here.
When I was in high school, my idea of what the LA hood was like was one thing, and then I saw Boys in the Hood.
Yeah,
and they're living in the fucking it's like suburban.
Yeah,
just fucking. I was like, that's like where I live.
Right? No, everyone's
about it. I don't get it.
Yeah, everyone's got a front yard and stuff like that. Like what made, like in music videos and whatnot, what made it like a community was like everyone hanging outside and stuff and like listening to music, smoking weed and stuff. And it's like, that happens, that exists, but it's not, I don't know, like it's not a city. So when I moved to San Francisco, it was the first time I was like, oh, this is like what a city is like, where we're all stacked on top of each other and there's a collective misery that we can all kind of, I don't know, we relate to each other on a level of misery. Like, oh, it sure does suck stepping in piss every day, right, guys? Yeah, let's go have a beer. Like in LA, it's like you're yelling to yourself in your car about stuff. That's
why I miss New York. Yeah. I miss
New York sounds
battling
wonderful.
the city with everyone else. Vince, you said the people in San Francisco it's a beautiful place, but the people are shitty. What kind of shitty?
Well, so I lived there. Like, I got the classic thing to say in San Francisco is like, "Oh man, you should have been here 5 years ago," which is like what people have been saying like literally since like the 50s, like the Summer of Love. It was like the Beats telling the hippies like, "Oh man, you should have been here 5 years ago." But even between like the late aughts to like the late 2010s, which was when I lived there, like it was taken over by tech people, and it was just this sort of plague of like Patagonia vest people. So like I'd be sitting in a coffee shop and then or a restaurant, and then there'd be two like loud tech guys just talking shop where you're forced to like listen to their awful like techie conversation. So it was a lot of that. It was a lot of like tech people talking shop and like nerds who had just gotten money. And I feel my position on nerds is that they're better when they're quiet. Like loud nerds is like the worst kind.
Oh my God. I make a distinction between geeks and nerds, but I've never made a distinction between like quiet nerds and loud nerds.
Yeah, like nerds who just got confident like 2 years ago because they working at some startup, and that was what most of San Francisco was by the time I'd left, and wasn't super
As a
great.
culture, we made a mistake of empowering nerds. And making nerds like, oh, it's cool to be a nerd, like that's, and which was, it seemed right at the time because it always felt like, oh, nerds are always being shit on by jocks, like in movies and stuff. But then as soon as you give the nerds the money and the power, they're like, I will burn down an entire rainforest to make an app that makes people drive you to 5 blocks.
The world should have asked me before they started doing that, because I could have told them that empowered nerds are fascists.
Yes, exactly.
You just don't want to do that.
Yeah, people didn't know. I think people assumed like, oh, it's these damn bros and jocks are a bunch of, they're fascists, and the nerds are anti-fascists who are like cool and whatnot. And it's like, no, you don't understand what years of not having sex will do to a man who's a nerd. Like a long time of like just resentment of women for not finding them attractive because they're nice and won't talk to you, like will turn you into a fascist real fast. So you give them power and all of a sudden they're like, we need an app so men can only hang out with men.
But I have a question. Are we making the argument that absolute power corrupts absolutely? So you empower any group, it's going to happen, like an Animal Farm kind of thing? Or do you feel there's something specific to nerds which makes them especially atrocious when they come to power.
I think that nerds are especially atrocious when they come to power because they haven't had a taste of it. So like it's like their first rush of power,
And
whereas
a lifetime
like
of resentment.
Yeah, whereas like maybe like jocks and bros or whatever, like they've had a little bit of popularity before, so maybe they're like slightly more chill about it. Whereas nerds are like, oh my god, I'm drunk with popularity all of a sudden.
In my experience, like nerds, and I'll make a distinction between nerds and geeks. Like when I think of nerds that I've known,
Nerds I have known.
huge egos, huge egos.
Yeah.
Like, so it's this thing of like, oh yes, this person was picked on a lot and that sucks, but you don't understand that person thinks that they need to be the one doing the picking on.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
they should be thought of as the boss.
Yeah, I mean, as like a quasi nerd myself, I feel like nerds grow up, taking like standardized tests and getting grades that tell you that you're the best and that you're special. And so I think it's really easy to turn that into like, yes, I should be the one that is better than other people, or I should be the one that like makes decisions for other people.
So
Yeah.
on my Monday show, I had Jamie Loftus, who is a comedian, and
Yeah.
you know who that is. She does these great podcasts. She did she just did Cast, where she's like reconsidering Kathy comics. She did Lolita
And she
podcast.
did the Lolita podcast. Yeah.
She co-hosts Bechdel Cast, and then her first one was called My Year in Mensa. And as a
Right.
writer, she thought she was going to take the test to get into Mensa, the high IQ society or group. She thought she wasn't going to get in, and that was going to be what she wrote about. But then she got in, and she wrote this thing like, good news, guys, they allow dumb sluts in Mensa now. And so then she was going to infiltrate Mensa, and what she discovered was they're like pretty awful and kind of alt-right.
Yeah, they're Gamergate adjacent.
Yeah, which is we were talking about it on the show. I was like, I always just assumed that Mensa was like smart people having, erudite discussions in sweaters with patches on the sleeves. Like I had I figured I would like them.
It's a safe space for egotistical nerd dudes. That's why they call it Mensa. It's like it's like they like the idea of there being kind of a disproportionate
separation between them and the rest of society.
They want to be certified.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense that there would be this like gross racist element of it. When you think about like the books like the Bell Jar, and I mean that's sort of like central to
Bell curve. Yeah.
Sylvia Plath was just super white pride. So, thank you, Daniel. Tony. So I don't know if you guys know, but Tony is in a world famous band. He has a gold record.
Nice.
And I used to pretend that I didn't believe his gold record was real, but I know that it is real.
Because you bid it, right?
Because I bid it. I actually had a pair of gold earrings, and I did bite down on them because I was young. I was like 13, and a babysitter.
What can you tell from the? I've never understood that. Is it leave a mark?
Soft.
Yeah, real gold is soft, and fake gold isn't. So if you bite down on real gold, it will leave a little tooth mark. But
So you ruined your earring.
yes. Well, I mean, if you look closely, it was dumb. But like a science. I learned something from it.
Sure.
Which is that I shouldn't bite down on my earrings.
Don't bite on gold.
Anyway, yes, I did take a little nibble off Tony's gold record. Hope you don't mind. So I imagine you in your music life have been around nerds or dorks or whatever we're calling them, and I hope that doesn't sound judgmental because I myself was not some kind of popular person in high school at all.
You're a huge nerd.
I was pretty much a nerd, but I was a good nerd. I had no fascist leanings. I was a non-fascist nerd.
All my friends were nerds.
Same.
Tony, have you seen nerds suddenly become popular because they're in a rock band, and how do they handle that?
Well, I mean, I think any like successful bands that I know, I don't know that I knew them. I met them like on tour, so I didn't like know them in high school and stuff like that.
Right.
So that's hard for me to answer. I can't. No one comes to mind. I know that's a
Who
boring
was
answer.
the most
but...
fascist musician that you,
Yeah.
that you met?
Yeah.
Name names.
Which musician did you see and you're like, you know what? This guy would have made a great Nazi.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Name names. Well, I mean, did you notice anyone who because rock stars, I assume, have sex a lot with fans? Did you notice anyone who was doing that? But you're like, they're doing this because they're on a power trip, not because they're like for the love of the game, naturally horny. You know what I mean? Like, is there anyone you're like you're doing rock stardom in a more misogynist way than others?
Right. Again, I feel like I need to just start making up answers because I don't have exciting answers for this stuff. Yeah, no.
The answer is yes, and the fascists you met were the lead singer of Hoobastank. And no, what band were you in? I want to know.
He's still in the band.
A band.
What band are you in?
It's called Motion City Soundtrack.
Oh, nice. That sounds familiar to me. What kind of music?
I always just say rock, but we would get lumped in with the like pop punk world and stuff like
Okay.
that. I've
So
never thought that was totally accurate, but that's what
Not
we
new
kinda
metal, then.
No, I can safely say not new metal.
Did you not open for Hoobastank?
No, I don't think we ever even played a festival with them. I'm trying to think.
Damn.
I don't think I've ever even heard Hoobastank, and yet I feel like I probably have heard Hoobastank. Do they sound like what I'm imagining they sound like?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I would actually go no. I feel like they're like a little like weenier than you would expect.
They're not as the in terms of like names matching music. I think Mudvayne is the closest you're going to get. But Hoobastank is weenier.
Do they
I
sound
feel like
like Zebrahead? Does anyone know what they sound like?
Yeah.
I
feel like
them.
Hoobastank is sort of like either like Incubus or Linkin Park with just like a dash of Train.
Oh, wow.
What do we all
Yeah.
think of New Durst?
Oh, yeah. He looks like...
It's a
Why
wig,
is
right?
he-
That's been my thing. Like that's a wig, right?
It's got to be.
Because
I
it
think so.
looks.
I
like
thought
a
he was
wig.
bald back in the day.
Are they on a tour? Why are there so many suddenly so
they're
many pictures
playing-
of Fred Durst going around?
They're playing Lollapalooza.
Yeah, Lollapalooza.
Which is like I didn't even know I didn't know they were on the bill. I didn't even see the poster for Lollapalooza come out until like the festival happened this weekend. So I didn't know that they were one of the headliners or
We
reunion
didn't even know what
bands
was
or
going
whatever.
on still, Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
Well, me and Matt had a fight about the Woodstock '99 documentary where
We did.
Matt doesn't think that Limp Bizkit should be blamed for the riots.
Goddamn right.
And I think they should be blamed a little bit for the riots.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I mean, they said break stuff. They did the song break stuff, and Woodstock '99, there was like a riot.
Vaguely
It just
remember that.
Yeah, it was like a day of like, it was 3 days of like fire and people passing out and like there was
Is that where they had no water?
there was no water and
Was it muddy?
No, that was Woodstock 94. There was mud in Woodstock 99, but a lot of that was due to water because like a septic
they turned
tank.
over all the porta potties.
Yeah,
Oh,
turned over the
you literally said doo-doo water. I thought you said due to water. It was due to
no,
water.
no, due to water.
Oh, like
One
what I'm
was
going to put on my plants.
Exactly. But they put it all over their skin and stuff, which is not good. But yeah, so the Fred Durst thing in the documentary, I felt like to blame the bands for the fact that the festival was organized shittily is nonsense. And Vince believes that too, but there's a little bit of a contrarian in him who's just like,
well,
no, Fred
you're
Durst
saying
sucks.
Yeah. Well, you're saying like it didn't matter the types of crowd that those bands attracted, and I'm like, I feel like Limp Bizkit attracting a certain crowd had some effect.
Well, I mean, Fred Durst now looks like he's going for he looks like Julian Assange. And I'm not really sure why he decided to do like an all white Hogan and a gray wig. It's very strange, but
To me, he looks like an understudy doing like a Mark Twain Presents or something.
oh yeah, he does. He does look like Mark Twain a little
Or
bit.
Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
Tony, I have another
weird-
question for you. You posted a story, which I thought was really good, where you said you were literally begging people to get vaccinated because you have tours coming up and you're afraid they're going to get canceled. What is the chatter among you guys about, like, what are the chances of it potentially getting canceled? Like, the pictures from Lollapalooza, as someone I was feeling, I've recounted this on the show before, but I was feeling good. We were back to in-person podcasts. You and I, sworn enemies, were talking about how great it was to be in person again. Daniel and I were going out. I wasn't feeling like I needed a mask all the time. And now, after our scare where we were exposed to someone who was exposed, but we're okay. But just hearing about how much it's like, how many vaccinated people are getting sick, and the Delta variant is so contagious. I am now I feel like I'm regressing, and I'm feeling like I need to be doing remotes again, and I don't know. I don't really know where I am. I'm just confused. Seeing those pictures of Lollapalooza, though, those people were like packed in like salamanders. I don't know. So yeah, what's the chatter, Tony?
I mean, to be honest, I haven't heard a ton of actual chat. I think everyone is remaining hopeful and just trying to think positive, I think. But I will fully admit, and that's why I posted that yesterday, is because it's been in the back of my mind always, ever since the tour got announced, and any shows have been announced that, like, between now and then, something's going to happen and stuff's going to get canceled. And I don't want that to happen, obviously. Like, I'm kind of freaking out about that because, you know, I've really realized in this last year and a half, like, how much performing does for me. Like, it just, like, how much I truly get out of it, and it just, like, makes me a happier person overall. And it's really been a big struggle. And so I'm just personally terrified of what's going on, and so many people unvaccinated. But then also there's, you know, all these breakthrough cases happening, which I know is going to happen. I know the vaccine is not 100%, but there do seem to be, I actually now have just found out about a couple of people that I know that are vaccinated have just gotten it. And I'm fucking terrified. Of
When are
what's
your
gonna happen.
shows? When are the shows, Tone?
Well, the tour isn't until January, but I am supposed to play a couple festivals in September. And one of which is Chicago, the Riot Fest, and that's pretty
how hard would it
gigantic.
be? How hard would it be to postpone it a few months? Because there's talk amongst
Tony,
the,
can you postpone Riot Fest?
I'll make a call. I'll call Johnny Riot. And,
but your own shows, like the epidemiologists say, there's going to be a third booster, but probably not till winter. So it might be just like give it a few more months. You might be okay.
hopefully,
I just say show up, do the show. COVID's not real.
Yeah,
Just
a sign that says "No sheep allowed."
Yeah, no sheep allowed. Only unvaccinated allowed at this rock fest. Just go full right wing with it. Because they seem to be having a grand old time. A lot of them are dying, but the ones that are living, they're having a great time.
All right. I need to talk to you guys for a moment about Olive and June, but then, because I'm afraid I'm going to forget, here's the things we got to talk about when I come back. Matt, you're doing shows. I want to hear about that. And then also, since we mentioned Lollapalooza, we need to talk about Perry Farrell's new face. That has not gotten enough attention. And then maybe I'll share a deep thought. Okay. So, and by the way, people who are watching this on Patreon, you can see on the video that I'm holding up my Olive and June manicure kit. It is so cool. It's like all the stuff you need to make a salon quality manicure at home. And I have this pink box and I'm holding up a little bag that has all these manicure essentials. And then look at all the nail polishes that are in there. I gave myself a pedicure, and I'm not going to hold my feet up to the camera, but it was very easy, and they
That
look
costs
very
extra.
Good. That's right. And I'm going to do my nails next, and I already know what color I'm going to use. I'm going to use pink sands. I had seen Olive and June on social media, and I was intrigued, and I'm super into this. Olive and June nail polishes last 7+ days. They do not chip. The base coat is built into the polish. They have this great brush, which is, instead of being rounded, it's flat. So it makes covering your whole nail with the brush super easy. And then they have this thing called the Poppy, which is like this little rubber handle that fits on the polishes so that you have better, dexterity with your non-dominant hand. That's really the thing that like puts it over the edge. It makes it so easy. And what else do I have? The nail clippers, the file, the brush for cleaning up, special cuticle serum. It's all so great, and it's just great self-care. Getting beautiful salon perfect nails at home is now a dream come true with Olive and June. Your new nail life is here. Visit oliveandjune.com/bestfriend and use code bestfriend for 20% off your first Mani system. This is an exclusive offer you can only get here. That's Olive and June, oliveandjune.com/bestfriend. Code bestfriend for 20% off your first Mani system. oliveandjune.com/bestfriend. Code best friend. We were talking about dogs earlier. I want to tell you about my favorite dog DNA breed and health kit, and that is Embark. It is a DNA test. It's like I think it's the most thorough one on the market, because I have a friend who did 2 different types, and Embark went into way more detail and knew way more about the dog. It's just a cheek swab, so it's very easy to do. We did it with Wendy. She's a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. So there was no surprise in terms of what she was. I would have been surprised if it turned out she was like 2%, Pekingese or something. But she was all Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. But they also go into what potential genetic diseases she might be at risk for. Thankfully, she wasn't at risk for those. And it's just great info that you can give to your vet. And then now I'm connected with other people who have relatives of hers. You can like opt into that element of it. And so periodically I get an email saying like, oh, a new relative of Wendy's is on Embark. And then we communicate, and it's super fun. And I even made a bio for her. So people can know about her. Learn your dog's inner secrets with Embark, the highest rated dog DNA test. Right now, Embark has an offer on their breed and health kit for our listeners. Go to embarkvet.com to get free shipping and save $50 off your Embark breed and health kit with promo code BESTFRIEND. Visit embarkvet.com and use promo code BESTFRIEND to save $50 today. Okay, Matt. So you've been doing comedy shows in clubs and things. How's that feeling?
Well, it's been very nice to be back out there. I was at the Punchline in San Francisco about a week ago, and that was a lot of fun to be, back. Clubs were opened up again. Everyone was inside. It was great. I also started a weekly show in Los Angeles at a restaurant called Nosa every Thursday at 9 p.m. So get your tickets online. But I will say that it is in between the time where I did the Punchline and our very first Nosa show. The variant started popping off like crazy. I actually got a call from a venue that I had, another venue that I had done comedy in. They called me to tell me while I was on my way back home, hey, so one of our staff just tested positive for the variant. So get yourself a test. So that kind of sucked. I had to go get myself a test. I have another test coming up on Wednesday, and it's just like, you can just kind of tell that like audiences are starting to, they were really packed for the first few months of opening. Everyone was so excited to be back out, but now audiences are getting timid again. People are staying in, and which is why I really need you to buy tickets to the Happies every Thursday.
Yeah.
The Happies comedy. Yeah.
My sister has been nervous about the variant like this entire time. Like during the time that Daniel and I were out there having play dates with the kids. We don't just have play dates ourselves. You know, during the time we were living our lives, for that whole time, I think my sister was worried. And now her fears have sort of come to fruition in that I do think now vaccinated people do need to be on guard. But I feel like she missed out. She could have had a few months of living it up.
Exactly. That's kind of what happened. As soon as everything started opening up, there were select people in my life who were like, I don't know about all this. Seems a little premature. And like intellectually, I was like, yeah, you're probably right about that. But I'm being told by the CDC and, you know, by whatever, people that we spent a year going, listen to the scientists. And I'm like, for right now, even though they're probably lying in order to get commerce going again, they're telling us to go outside and have fun again. And I'm just going to allow myself to enjoy that until the moment at which we find out it was a huge, huge mistake.
Yeah. And that moment's here, right?
Yeah, it seems like it's here now.
I felt Vince Mancini-able.
Thank you.
You're welcome. With my vaccine.
Yeah.
And now I'm feeling less so.
Yeah, I know. Especially since I also know a few people who were breakthrough cases. The only like solace that I've taken in so far is that people have not been hospitalized. Everyone I know who's gotten the variant and you know from a breakthrough case was either asymptomatic or like had very few symptoms for a couple of days and were fine.
Right.
Yeah, they say that it's still the vaccine is still the really good at keeping you from the hospital, but the more I read about long COVID,
yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Which you can still get if you get it. That's almost scarier to me. Like,
By the way, I know that there are people who are going to be like, I'm tired of hearing about COVID, and I get that. Yeah. I see you. I hear you. I hold
you are valid.
I hold space for your negative feelings about this particular conversation. However, I just personally need to have this conversation.
We can do 5 minutes on the global pandemic that's currently raging throughout the world.
Because it's so
like,
at the forefront of my mind and in impacting my decision-making process so much that I like to compare notes with people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, same here. And I understand being tired of talking about it. I'm tired of it, too. I think everyone is tired of it. There's nobody who's around. Yeah, it was just like, I'm looking for more COVID content. You know, it's like, no, we're all tired of it. We're also... we're also back to, doing your podcast, through Zoom. So, it's not like it's not a topic of conversation. And also it's nice to vent about it because I'm very annoyed. I feel the same way that you do, Tony, where I'm just like, I just really am fearful that there's going to be another shutdown and I'm really hoping not. And I would just love it if people would just please get vaccinated. Yell at your parents, but do it in a nice way. I don't know what works.
I know.
I know.
Like, I don't know what does anything work at this point. If they haven't done it by now, like what's it going to take? That's what the hard.
I don't know, but it's like just everyone just do your best because I know there's people out there who are also just like, well, if you're worried about it still, then what's the point? And it's like, no, the point is that that we're probably not going to die from it. And we're also probably not going to get long COVID from it because of the fact that we're vaccinated. So just do yourself and everyone a favor and just fucking get vaccinated. Yeah. For the love of God. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you guys host a podcast, Pod Yourself a Gun, that I was a guest on. And that got me back into finishing Sopranos. Nice. And now Daniel and Daniel's seen it many times or once?
I've seen the first 3 seasons multiple times, and I'm realizing I only saw the 6th season once.
Wait, Tony, will you play TV time?
TV time, TV time, TV time, TV time, TV time, TV time.
We are 2 episodes away from the very, very end.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Almost there.
I know.
So bittersweet when that happens.
I know.
Yeah.
I kind of want to like stretch it out. We saw an episode last night. I feel like it's okay to do spoilers, right?
Yes.
Well,
it's been 20 years.
If
Okay.
you don't want any Sopranos spoilers, just skip ahead because we're going to spoil.
Wait, so
Well,
did you
it's a
say
small-
you've never seen it, Allison?
I had never seen it all the way through. I didn't watch it when everyone watched it, when it was on. And then a handful of years ago, I started watching it because Daniel had all the DVDs. And but he didn't have season 5, right? I think
Yeah.
he didn't have, so I got through season 4. So then when I was booked on Pod Yourself a Gun, it was season 5, episode 2. So Daniel and I went back and rewatched season 4, and then I've been watching ever since.
Yeah.
So these are first viewings for me.
It's not really spoilable. I don't think The
Yeah.
Sopranos
Yeah.
is spoilable.
It's
So
not like you find out one twist and you're like, this whole incredibly
Right.
nuanced show is ruined now."
right.
Right.
So last night we saw the episode where he curb stomps Coco.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
disturbing. Daniel and I
Yeah.
had a conversation about why that was so it's just the brutality of it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's also it's almost surreal. It's one of the more surreal scenes in The Sopranos, because he gets one of Coco's teeth stuck
In
in
his
like
pant leg, yeah.
yeah, the cuff of his pant leg, and it's like usually when you're seeing disembodied
Coco.
disembodied teeth. No, yeah, it's Coco. This is season 6, Vince.
Season
Okay,
6.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
I don't remember that so well.
Yeah, you haven't gotten there yet. Whereas
Yeah.
I rewatch The Sopranos every other month, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, every time you usually see like disembodied teeth in The Sopranos, it's like in a dream sequence. It's usually him spitting out teeth or pulling out teeth. So yeah, it's very disturbing.
Oh,
Very
look
disturbing.
at that. I didn't realize that teeth was an ongoing symbol.
Yeah, it's a motif. Motif. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't tracking that particular motif, but I
I
can.
think because they don't try to over dramatize violence, which makes it land better. You know,
Yeah.
like a lot of the violence is still slapsticky. Like they'll find the comedy of death scenes, and it'll make it scarier because it feels real in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think also by this point in the show, Chase and the writers are making a deliberate attempt to not make it seem sexy in any way.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely a turn. I think maybe like right before season 5. I'm trying to remember, maybe right where you could tell that Chase is disgusted with half of the fan base.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's like
And-
that's such a key part of his appeal that he's kind of a curmudgeonly old bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's like, I hate you for liking this guy, and I hate you for wanting violence, so I'm going to give it to you in a way that turns your stomach.
Right. Either turns your stomach or is oafish and silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do a good job. I think like throughout the entire series, they do a pretty good job of not making violence look cool so much as look kind of like either like lame or utilitarian. There's a lot of like people like there's a lot of there's Tony punches beats the shit out of someone and barfs one time. There's like it's like he's not meant to be cool, but yet there's this contingent of Sopranos fan who's like, oh, I like it because the mafia does shoot guns, it does violence. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's like clumsy still. I think early Game of Thrones did that well too, where like the standard is people that are like really good at like swords and doing samurai shit, and then Game of Thrones was like, oh no, it's just like a big asshole in a metal suit just bashing things with a giant metal stick, and it was like, yeah, that's probably how it was. That's probably much more accurate.
There's there's violence throughout the show, though, and we lose characters that we care about, and Coco's not one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out why that scene in particular was like made me feel so awful, like unsettled, disturbed, and like almost traumatized is too big of a. I'm a very sensitive person. Traumatized is too big of a word, but I did have that feeling of like I didn't consent to view that. And I knew it was coming too because I had come across it on like Reddit or I don't know where I'd come up. Daniel has given me explicit direction to not read theories and stuff. So maybe it wasn't Reddit. I don't know where I found it, but I did know it was coming. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it might just be the nature of that particular crime. Or
I mean, it's the first time I've ever seen someone curb stomped to a degree, whereas like even the curb stomping that happens in American History
X,
American History X, it's like they do this like wide shot where
Right.
you actually see the foot land and whatnot, but you don't see like when he curb stomps Coco, it's like you get to see the teeth mashing, which is a very like I don't know, viscerally.
And you see him place his
disturbing.
head at it all.
Yeah,
I know. Maybe it's just there's something to me very, very disturbing about like it's why the Holocaust is extra disturbing. Like there's something extra upsetting about creative ways to do violence.
Mm-hmm.
I like the tried and true.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not, get fancy with the violence.
Yeah, just normal ways of killing people,
Yes.
like drowning them, sticking them with a sharp, pointy thing, or shooting them with a sniper rifle. From like far away.
Timeless, classic.
Hell yeah.
Part of it too is just it seems like of all the ways someone could fuck you up, it seems like one of the worst.
It's extra cruel too because it's like not only did you get your ass
trauma.
kicked,
Yeah.
you got your ass kicked, and you got to like go to the dentist a bunch because you got to get a bunch of new teeth.
Yeah.
If you live, I don't even know if Coco lived.
He
through
does.
that.
Barely.
He must have lived.
There's a character who later says you almost killed him.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. On to less gory.
We don't normally talk
things.
about curb
No,
stomping.
I know we don't. I feel like I got to give a warning because people come here for something light and pleasant, but also honest and true and real.
I saw Tony's face. He just got like a childlike glee when we started talking about curb stomping, and
It's because he's filled with quiet rage.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Tony, have you ever killed a man?
I cannot speak about that right now.
See, that's not a no. I don't feel reassured. All right. I believe Vince has a hey, go fuck yourself.
Oh yeah, I do.
Let's
Yeah.
hear about it.
I mean, it's gonna be like the most white person. Hey, go fuck yourself, because it's the pool guy. Because one of the perks of moving to Fresno is that now I have a pool guy, and
You got to start off by saying, "Hey, pool guy." I remember the rules.
He does that at the
no,
end.
it's at the end.
Yeah.
It's at
Oh
the end.
shit! I fucked
Man,
it up.
you
All right.
suck.
Hang on. Let me explain because I don't know how much we clean this up. I mean, this will stay in, but usually this comes up on the Monday shows. I think we leave it in mostly, but it is an ongoing thing that we do. Hey, go fuck yourself, and then the person doesn't quite know how to set it up because I have neglected to tell them exactly how. So each time is new and different. So hit it, Vince.
Right. Okay. Well, so we have a pool guy who does the pool stuff. He knows all the chemicals and he has the scooper and all that kind of thing.
It's official.
We only moved in like less than a year ago, so I don't know all the ins and outs of pool ownership yet. So I just mostly knew that there was a guy that makes the pool water stay blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we went on vacation to my wife's family's house.
My wife. Sorry.
That's the thing we do on the show too. In Montana, and we were there for like 10 days, and like on day 3 our pool guy texted us and was like, he basically texted us quitting, saying
no.
like, hey, I'm not going to be your pool guy anymore, like chlorine's too expensive, blah blah blah, which was weird, number one, And then by the time we got back, the pool was like fully green, like fully like like a dragonfly breeding pond in the backyard. So and I don't know if he knew that he'd screwed something else up and wanted to get out of Dodge before he had to take responsibility for it, which is what I suspect happened.
Yeah, there's no way it turned green that fast.
Right. And so we ended up having to try and find a new pool person who had to like drain the entire pool. And,
wow.
put new water in it. Yeah.
Okay, so now you go. So, hey, pool guy.
So hey, pool guy.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
I have a lot.
That was really gratifying.
Cathartic, right? For all of us. I have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
He knew you were out of town for 10 days?
I don't know if he knew that we were out of town. I'm not sure.
How often does he come?
He comes once a week.
Once a week.
So in like the less than a week that after he quit, it turned green.
No.
And had to be drained.
No. He showed up and he saw it had turned green. He messed something up and he wanted to pretend like it wasn't his fault. That's exactly what happened.
Because I think if it really were that chlorine was too expensive, then he would say, I have to
Just
raise
pass it
the
on.
rate.
Yeah, he would raise the rate.
There's this thing called cyanuric acid, which I assume they're supposed to manage the levels of that. But like at a too high level of cyanuric acid, the chlorine stops working. So I think he was like using all this chlorine on the pool because he hadn't managed the acid level. And so at a certain point, it doesn't matter how much chlorine you put in it anymore. It's just green and gross and you can't manage it anymore. And and so he just bailed out of that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about
That
salt
sucked.
water?
What's that?
What about salt water?
You have to get like a whole new like filter system for that. I would like to do that at some point.
What is having a pool like? I've never had a pool, but in my fantasies, I do have one.
It was great. So when I was a kid, we had an above ground pool, just to tell you how white trash I was.
Nice.
One too.
Straight
Yeah.
trash.
Nice doughboy. We'd get the wetsuits on and like patch it by hand with like little bike tire patches. So yeah, my dream as a child was always to have like a in-ground pool like the rich folk had.
Yeah.
And,
Cool as fuck.
yeah, exactly. And so and summer started. It's like 100 degrees for like 30 days plus here, and I'd switched my exercising to swimming laps in our pool. It was pretty great. And then I came back and didn't want to go in that pool anymore, but it was great.
What happens
Otherwise.
if you go in the green pool with the dragonflies? Like, what's the worst that could happen?
Probably, I don't know. I doubt it. I would have like died or anything. It just doesn't look appealing.
Yeah, but I mean, if as long as you don't turn into like some sort of like toxic,
Merman.
superhero or whatever.
It's scary because you can't see the bottom, and I also
that's bad.
So another story that may contribute to my fear of this is one of my best friends. He had brought his now wife, who was just his girlfriend at the time, to meet his parents for the first time.
I'm so glad you did it.
She's got it. She's got the hang of it. So he brought his then girlfriend to meet his family for the first time, and his parents have like a hot tub, and like they'd had some, like it was like Thanksgiving dinner or something, and they were like, oh, let's go all get in the hot tub. And she went out to go get in the hot tub, and she got in first, and she felt something like brush against her leg, and she's like, what is that? And the jets were on, so they couldn't see, and my friend had to reach into the hot tub, and he discovered that the family dog had drowned in the hot tub and
my
was
God.
like underneath the bubbles when they got in it.
Jesus Christ.
Horrible.
This is a horrible story. I thought it was going to be a lizard or something, or a frog,
I wish.
or a sweater. Oh my God.
Someone
Must
played
have just
taps
happened.
again.
Yeah. Wait, how did the family dog die in the hot tub? Did it get cooked?
I guess she
What
got.
happened? Oh my God, this is a very
She got
disturbing
in, and
episode.
she was kind of old and couldn't get out, I guess. And then
That sucks.
yeah.
Wait, who did this happen to?
One of my good friends, the guy who officiated my wedding.
Did he include that?
No,
In the vows?
Stop talking about
I can't remember if we talked about it at his wedding, but I think pretty sure we did.
Oh my God, that's so upsetting. I am so sorry for them.
Yeah.
Did you have back and forth with the pool guy?
No, like, well, basically he quit, and then we sent a few angry texts and got no response, and that was basically
So
it.
he did it via text.
Yeah.
Oh, he
well, I
for
mean, we were out of town too, so
Yeah, but it's a cell phone. He could have called you.
sure, yeah.
He for sure. He made it green somehow. I blame him. Was he hot?
Pool guys are like they do have like a hot surfer guy vibe as a group. All the pool guys that I've seen, yeah.
And he did.
So he was
too.
hot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was like hot. He's definitely like a young surfer guy. Yeah, he wasn't not hot. I'll say that.
Okay. All right. That's cool. I mean, I don't know why that matters to me, but it just like there's part of me that wants to know if like, maybe his purpose there, like he doesn't know how to clean pools, right?
Right.
And he was just like, he's just like waiting for like Emily to make the first move and she wasn't doing it. And then she was just getting more and more pregnant. And he's like, what the fuck this?
Yeah.
Every day every week I pretend to put chemicals in the pool. I'm not doing shit. This is baking soda. And I try to like catch a look from Emily, but she's too busy, like, taking, vitamins and working out and stuff. She's not giving me the time of day.
He wasn't getting a vibe.
He wasn't getting a vibe. And so he's like, I got to move on. I can't afford not to fuck a housewife. Maybe that was it.
Could be.
Yeah, is it your wife's fault, maybe?
Yeah, I definitely blame her a little bit, partly for this.
How did you find him on the internet?
We just inherited him. He was the pool guy who was taking care of the pool when we bought the house, and he was like, hey, I can keep taking care of the pool. And we thought, well, that sounds like a good idea.
Do you think he was sleeping with the old owner of the house?
Yes. Yeah. Why did they sell?
I don't know. They were older. I don't know
Doesn't
if
matter.
there was a family here before or if it was just a man. I know there was a man that lived here who was a real estate agent. I don't know if he had a whole family or not.
All right. Changed my theory to think maybe he's trying to fuck you instead, but my theory kind of remains the same.
Sure.
He was just trying to fill out the vibe. I like to think, though, that he broke up the previous family that lived there, and that's kind of his thing. He's actually like 200 years old. He's just been doing this forever. He's under some sort of like spell that keeps him young.
The bonds
I tried to go
you
to
and
the
your
office,
wife were too strong.
and it was like a Wiener Schnitzel now, and they're like, oh, there hasn't been a pool office here for 10 years.
It's just The Shining, but it's just a suburban house in Fresno.
Yeah.
So I would like to say hello and welcome to some new patrons. I mentioned before I'm on Patreon or all sorts of fun stuff on there. And if you sign up for an annual subscription, you get 2 months free. So that's 12 months for the price of 10. It is a good deal. Let's do it.
Allison wants to say thank you to a couple of special people out there who signed up to be new patrons. Patreon.com/AllisonRosen.
All right. Vince and Matt give their patrons mafia names, which is such a good idea. I just say their name, although when Wendy and Dave are here, they put their names into a song. So anyway, hello and welcome to Liz, to Mickey Kelly, to Ricky Powell, Shannon Stokes, upped her subscription to annual. Lee McKeeman signed up for an annual subscription. Rebecca Green increased her annual pledge. And I would also like to welcome David Fippen and Vicky Mallon signed up for an annual subscription. Oh, and Stephanie Ford, welcome. I hope all of you guys love it. I hope you enjoy being, and this is what I've decided to call you, friends with benefits. So I've been looking for a good name for them. Friends with benefits. There you go.
Lee McKeeman, I hardly know him.
Hey! That's the kind of shit you can expect for $8 a month on the Patreon that we do.
You guys, thank you so much for joining. Maybe we should do like one or two, just mirror everyone's. Let's do that.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
Okay, this is a segment where people write in with things they think or do, and they wonder, is it just me or everyone? And then we weigh in. So Megan says, just me or everyone. A couple years ago, before boarding my flight, they asked me if I would agree to help in case of emergency because I was sitting in an exit aisle, and I said no. Has anyone else said no? Feel like I could have just said yes and moved on, but I didn't want the responsibility. I always say yes.
Yeah, I just say I'm like barely paying attention to them, and I say yes, but I respect her decision to actually take it seriously.
Yeah, they did move her. I say yes, and then when they're going through their spiel, I like pay extra attention because I'm like, I might be called upon to serve.
Yeah, I always say yes too, but I need the exit row. I think if I were, because I'm 6'6", and the exit row is the only row that my legs can fit in like, in economy class. So I have no choice but to say yes. And, if I were if I were 5'6" or something, I might be more honest about it and be like, I can't handle this responsibility, but I'm stuck. I have to do it.
Wait,
So I
are
say
you
yes.
saying you can't handle the responsibility, but you're going to sit there anyway?
I mean, yeah, I definitely can't handle the responsibility. If it actually happened, if there was like a plane crash and there was a water landing and they were like, okay, we need you to like open the door, I'd be like, okay, you guys will do a better job at this. And I think we all know it. Like at this point, you're just looking for a reason to move people out of the seat. That's why you asked the question. But
Yeah,
you could do this.
How many times in world history has there been like a plane crash where someone manning the exit door had to do something? There was like Sully,
Right.
And then that's pretty much it, right? That's
It was
never
just
ever
Sully.
happened before.
Just that
It was-
one.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why you say yes anyways, because you're like, well, let's be real. If there's a plane crash and there's like a water landing, and if I didn't feel like I could handle the responsibility, I would just fake a concussion.
So when you fly with kids on a plane, you can't sit in the exit row.
Ugh.
Well, that's
One
just,
other thing that they ruin.
that's just
Yeah.
it's another reason for me to, never have kids. Just keep that exit row going.
Yeah.
Live that exit row life.
I like the responsibility, and then I let the power go to my head, and
To become a fascist nerd.
yeah, exactly.
Start
Like if there's a
taking bribes.
situation in which
All
I
right,
can,
hot chicks first. Only the hot chicks. Big gazungas.
I start exit-splaining to other people on the plane about what they should and shouldn't be doing.
Just like, hey, lady, looks like you got your own flotation device. You know what I mean?
Sarah Hersey says, nothing makes me feel quite as gross as how frequently I find myself cleaning my AirPods.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm there.
I wear earplugs at night because Daniel likes to snore.
Not true.
He doesn't like to. He has to.
He has to. Like how you have to sit in an exit row. Daniel has to snore, and our dog Wendy has to snore along with him. So, oh my God, Daniel, I wish I had taken a picture. This morning, you were sleeping on the pillow, and then Wendy had her head next to yours, but she was like upside down. You guys were like yin and yang.
Oh.
It was so cute. Just the two of you guys just snoring away. So anyway, I wear earplugs. And then I'll take them out and leave them on my nightstand. And our son Owen loves to play with earplugs, so he'll grab them and carry them around the house. And then I always feel very embarrassed if they're not in pristine condition, which they never. I was gonna say if they have earwax on them, but I don't even want to admit that I can be that gross.
No, yeah. So I also wear earplugs. Those have earwax. My earbuds are just they're disgusting, and I try to like clean them as much as I can, but I'm really only doing it for show. It's really for other people in case anyone ever saw it. I would want to, but me personally, I'm like, it's just going back in my ear anyways. I'm not putting it in my mouth.
So you clean them out in public. Do you do like a little pinky to make it really
I would
fancy,
never
the
clean
way
it.
you clean the earwax out?
Yeah, I mean, I would never do it in public because I'm not a monster. But I usually take like I have a Q-tip, and then I also have like the end of a push pin. You know what I mean? And then because that's how you really can scrape all the gunk out.
Yeah, I think there's a happy medium in terms of like the amount of earwax you leave on your earbuds, because like don't want visible earwax in case anyone sees it and thinks you're really gross, but you want a little bit so that they slide in and out easily, because I wear the ones with the little rubber tips on them because I have giant ear holes and I need the big rubber things that go in there. And if my ears and the tips are too clean, then like the rubber part will stick in my ear and then I'll lose the little rubber thing. I've had to buy new rubber things because like I lose the little rubber piece that goes in there. And
wait, the rubber piece will just stay in your ear and you won't know for days?
Or like I'll put it in when I'm sleeping. Sometimes I put my headphones on when I'm sleeping too.
Same.
And and so sometimes they'll like the rubber part will come off of the headphone, and then it'll just like be buried in my bed somewhere.
Yeah,
and that's no fun.
That's not fun.
I never thought of earwax as your ear's natural lube.
It is. Yeah.
Tony, do you wear fancy drummer things that get nasty?
During shows, in-ear monitors, they get super gross. Yeah. And then because they're molded like specifically for my ears, and then they have little tiny holes in them, and those holes, and like I have to keep them clean because those holes will literally get plugged up with wax sometimes.
Gross.
Can you use them as headphones?
Yeah, they're not super. I do sometimes, but they're not very comfortable for long periods of time.
Oh, okay.
Like on a flight or something, if you're like several hours, like they start to get pretty uncomfortable after a while.
Yeah. That's fair.
What earwax wise, what I have found, and I believe that we really dug into this, no pun, with Rory Scovel years ago on the show, but I can have a sensation. I know you're not supposed to put Q-tips in your ear, but we all do, right?
Yeah, that's what you do. I don't know what you're supposed to do with them then. Why invent them?
Yes.
The box is hilarious because it says for a variety of uses, and nowhere on the box does it describe the one use everyone uses it for.
Yeah.
You could use it to clean things.
So there's a huge chasm between what I expect to see on the Q-tip and what is actually there. Like I can feel like I'll have a sensation of like, oh, this one's real.
This one's gonna be a big one. You can feel
here it comes, and then it'll be clean versus like when I feel like there's nothing and it's like, oh, mother load.
Yeah. You feel like there's a clump and you're excited about it. I don't know what that is, but there's a weird excitement.
That's
for
just
like,
mirror everyone, and that's everyone. Yeah.
Everyone. You just like, please be a clump because you want to get it out and you want to be like, there's something about it that just feels
like
relaxing.
It's like a pimple. I mean, you go to pop it and then nothing comes out. Ugh, it's the worst.
Yeah, because then you just made it worse.
Yeah, you pop it and it's just blood, and then you're like, oh shit, that was a mole.
You hear of those people that get their ear canals cleaned out, and I get jealous.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, oh my God, I bet you hear so well right now.
Yeah, I want to see the chunks coming out of my ears.
I do. I want to see that. It's one of the things that pisses me off about ear candles. Is that it's like this entire grift, like where they're basically making money off of the fact that we all want to see the gunk out of the ear, and then you burn it, and it's just like it's a trick. It's like it makes it look at all the wax it pulled out, but if you just burn one of those,
right?
Yeah, it's just candle wax. It's just candle wax, but they make you believe that it like used science of fire to suck out, the
toxins.
The toxins, exactly.
Have you guys ever neti potted?
Oh, yeah.
I never
Not on
have.
my ears.
No, sorry. We're moving on to a different hole in our face.
Oh, yeah. I neti pot on the reg.
Oh, really?
I've never done it. I don't like the sensation of things going in my nose.
No, me neither.
Yeah, I've never.
It just
Does it work for you?
It works great. Yeah. It gets all the. I mean, maybe it's a Fresno thing that you wake up with, like, gross boogers every morning, but you get that neti pot, boogers go away, happy nose.
That's nice.
Why is it a Fresno thing? Is there a special booger?
We have bad air and a dry climate,
And everyone there's snorting meth.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, you got to get the meth boogers out.
Tony, have you neti potted?
No, never have.
Yeah, I feel like it. I imagine that it would be like snorting pool water up your nose.
Yeah, it doesn't seem pleasant.
Is it like that? Does it hurt?
No, I mean, it's definitely weird at first. You're definitely putting like salt water.
Where does the water go? Does it go down your throat or through the?
All right, so you can do it so it just goes in one nostril and then it pours out the other one.
How's that
Although-
possible? Don't you need a deviated septum to do that?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Although when my sister-in-law does it, she does it where she kind of sucks it back into her throat to get it all the way through. I don't do it. I don't love to do it that way, but you definitely can, and it gets up
How does
higher
it not
in there.
hurt?
It doesn't hurt.
I just took a shower. I got some water up my nose, and my sore was throat for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, but you have a thing with that. Like you eat with your mouth open because you're afraid you're gonna.
I'm afraid I'm gonna
choke.
die.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
That's true. Yeah, I got a whole. I mean, I try not to eat in public, but
He eats like a scared chipmunk because he has shaky hands.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he can't eat with one hand a lot of the time. Most
no, I drink
foods-
water with two hands.
Yeah, he does everything two-handed like a little chipmunk, and then he also he also chews loud because he doesn't like to close his mouth because he's afraid he's going to choke.
Yeah, because my nose doesn't really do much. It's more just ornamental. There's not a lot of breathing that's going on in it. It's mostly just like God's way of being like, just so people know you're a Jew. And so I can only really breathe through my mouth. And so, when I eat.
It must be
I just,
stressful for you.
Yeah, life is pain. But I do feel like I've conquered eating in that, like, I do it the way that I was meant to do it, loudly with my mouth open, and I figured out how not to do it in public. And it's actually one of the reasons why I'm getting married. And let me explain that real quick. I worked with my now fiance back when she was in a different relationship, and because she was in a relationship, I was attracted to her, but I was like, well, she nothing's going to happen. So she saw me eat naturally at the office. And then she still fell in love with me. And because of that, I was like, she's the only person who I'm ever going to be able to be in a long-term relationship with, who accepts me for me as someone who eats like afraid. Because she can handle that, I'm like, I think we can take on the world together.
Yeah, you got to lock it down.
So romantic.
Have you seen a doctor about your ornamental nose?
I haven't. I have a good friend who did for a similar situation of an ornamental nose. He was Armenian, so I'll just say that there's genetics do not necessarily matter here. Everyone has weird noses. And he had an entire rhinoplasty surgery. It didn't change the shape of his nose, but it changed like the holes.
Yeah.
And like the bone or whatever happened. And it was such an ordeal. It was such a process of recovery that he went through for it. And the change was, he could breathe a little bit better out of it, but it wasn't like a huge change. And I was like, it's just not worth it. It seems very
I feel
expensive.
like they just try to give that surgery to anyone who comes in just to make money. I went to an ENT one time, and he's like, yeah, you got one nostril that's bigger than the other one. We could do a procedure on that. And I was like,
that's
I'm
ridiculous.
pretty sure it's fine, man.
Yeah. It's not having a monumental effect on my life. It's not worth $15,000 if you screwing over, me and, billing for the insurance. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm going to go get rhinoplasty, I'm going to get a nice little button nose.
Yeah.
Same.
That's what I'm doing. I'm not
that
going
Emily
in there to
Blunt,
get, I want a Brad Pitt nose,
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. Anyways.
Daniel, were you going to say something?
No, but I was thinking about the fact that if I wanted to, I could get a nose job like a month ago. And it was so hilarious to me that I felt like I absolutely have to do it, even though I don't really want
Yeah,
it.
he photoshopped photos of us with nose jobs.
That was just so funny. The idea that I could get I even would, and then it just.
What happened a month ago? Was there like a Groupon?
I don't know. I don't know why it popped into my head.
You started like seriously considering it after like downloading Face App or something.
I just went on to Photoshop and was
you
just
did?
like adjusting, and just the idea of getting plastic. It was almost too funny to not do it. Not that I care, but like I have to do it now. And it
I
was
gotta
a
send
weird,
those-
obsessive thought.
I have to. Angela, one of our friends with benefits, that makes it sound one of our patrons. She asked me to text those photos to the people who have the texting privileges. I should. I was disappointed because I had this fantasy that if I had a cute little nose, I would be like totally transformed. Like, oh my God, is that Adriana Lima, Victoria's Secret model? But really, it was just like, oh yeah, I look just like myself with a slightly smaller nose.
Yeah.
I just think you didn't do enough, Daniel.
I mean, with yours, I didn't give you the button nose.
Yeah,
We can
no,
see what
you
that
just you
looks
did like a tasteful,
Just, you know,
just a
I took a
tasteful.
little
It was
bit of
more
the Jew off.
refined.
I feel like it's so like you're playing with fire anytime you change your nose because like the potential for it to change your whole face that you've been looking at your whole life is way too high.
Yeah,
And it's like, do you remember that feeling the first time you saw your mom get like a serious haircut?
yes.
Is that
It was
universal?
threatening.
Yeah, where you're just like you want to cry, but you're like, I don't know why I want to cry right now.
Yes,
But
my
she
mom
looks-
changed. My mom changed up her whole look. I don't know why. I still don't know why. She used to dress like sort of conservatively, button up, and all of a sudden she was wearing like sexy young outfits, even though they really weren't sexy.
girl.
But yeah, and I just remember she had this like personal shopper who was like, "Oh shit," she had an accent, but I don't know what kind of accent it was. It was like, "Oh shit," you look
I was
so
going to say
sexy.
that's a personal shopper's doing.
But I was like, you're stealing my mom. I hated this woman so much. I
Yeah.
was so upset
Plus,
by
you
the
could-
whole thing.
Yeah, you could get it in a Jennifer Grey situation, the
Totally.
dirty dancing lady.
Jennifer
like,
Right.
Grey, that's the exact situation actually that to me that's the best cautionary tale for loving your
The nose you came with.
loving your Jewy features is what is honestly what it is, because I feel like there's a lot of for a certain amount of us, we don't look like, we look at our Israeli counterparts and you're like, how does that even possible? Why are you guys all hot and all of us look like this?
Yes.
And then but then the Jennifer Grey situation happened, and I was like, you know what? That nose gives you character. It makes you.
And maybe it's the Italian and Armenian in me, but like, I prefer the big noses with character. Like the small button noses scare me, and I'm a little put off by them. Like, if it's too buttony, I'm like, ew, why?
On a
why do
woman
you look
or on
like
a man?
doll? Both.
Both,
But yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, listen, you guys. I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to have to come back.
Yep, in person next time.
Yes, hopefully.
Knock wood.
Yeah, we'll all come out to Fresno.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we'll record this in your dragonfly pool.
Yeah.
We'll keep my newborn in one room, and then everybody will just like go into the other room, and
And we'll have
yell
our
into the microphone.
choice of Chinese food buffets to eat at afterwards. It's a town of mostly Chinese food
Is that
buffets.
right?
I don't know.
If you like what you're hearing, please make sure that you're subscribed or following or whatever the terminology is in your app of choice so that you get your episodes automatically so you don't miss one. Tell your friends. Leave us a nice comment on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, please. We read them on the show sometimes. And I'm on Cameo, and I have a book out, and I already mentioned Patreon. Follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. Vince, where do we find you, and what should we look for?
Well, as always, you can always find me on Uproxx, where I'm the senior film and culture writer, and then, of course, on the Film Drunk Frotcast that I do with Matt. We're on patreon.com/frotcast.
Patreon.
Yep.
And Matt,
And you can find us there. It's great.
what about you?
I am also the senior culture writer. You can find me and Vince, like you said, on the Film Drunk Frotcast, which is our main pod. And then recently in the last 2 years, the Sopranos podcast you were on, Pod Yourself a Gun. You can find that wherever podcasts are given away for free. It is a Sopranos rewatch podcast. You can either listen to it while rewatching. You can listen to it on its own. You can have never seen the Sopranos and just want to like dive into an episode. You'll love it no matter what. And, you can also find me, on Instagram at Matt Lieb Jokes. And if you're in LA, in Los Feliz on a Thursday night, every Thursday, 9 p.m., we have a comedy show, me and Francesca Fiorentini, my fiance, do called The Happies. So check out The Happies comedy on Eventbrite.
Wonderful. Daniel?
Oh, you can just follow me, Twitter and Instagram at Daniel Quantz.
Perfect.
I mean, if you're into that sort of thing.
And Tony?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at
Tony Thaxton.
and my podcast Bizarre Albums every Tuesday. And sorry not to compete with a Thursday show, but next Thursday, August 12th, I am going to be playing drums with our friend Jonah Ray at the Sardine in San Pedro, playing punk versions of Weird Al songs that Jonah has been doing.
Ooh, neat.
And it's a comedy and music show. There's some good comedians on the show, like Kurt Bronler, Brandy Posey, Dave Ross, and some others. I forget who else is on. But yeah, I'll be playing. I think that's a late show, so maybe you can do both shows.
You could do both.
Yeah.
Happies and then sardines.
Yes.
It's called The Sardine or Sardines?
The Sardine.
The Sardine. It'd be cool if it was actually like really spacious inside and you're not packed in at all.
I'll talk to the owner, see what I can do.
Thank you guys so much for being on the show. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen show?